Welcome back to Self-Advocacy Matters, the podcast where we shine a light on the people who turned impossible into inevitable. Today, we're diving into the life of a man often called the godfather of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Justin Dart Jr. Now, when people call him the godfather, they don't mean mob boss, violin music, and ominous whispers. No, this godfather carried a cowboy hat, not a violin case, which honestly is way cooler. So strap in, or better yet, tip your hat, because this is the story of a Texas kid who society tried to write off and who came back swinging cowboys style. Justin Dart Jr. was born in Houston, Texas in 1930 into a family that had it all: money, political clout, connections. His grandfather helped start Walgreens. Basically, if wealth was a cowboy hat, Dart's family had the 10-gallon deluxe version. Built in 1948. Oh, excuse me. But in 1948, Dart contracted polio. He began using a wheelchair, and suddenly the world looked very different. Universities called him unemployable. Employers turned him away. Society basically handed him a sorry, you're broken card. But Dart wasn't buying it. Instead, he flipped the script. I'm not broken. The system is. He earned degrees at the University of Houston. But get this, the school refused to give him a teaching certificate. Why? Because he had a disability. That's like saying, you've studied the material, passed the tests, but sorry, no cowboy hat for you. So what did Dart do? He opened businesses. One was a hamburger stand in Mexico, where he hired women with disabilities when no one else would. Dart's point was clear. Don't tell me people can't work. You're just refusing to let them. And somewhere in there, the cowboy hat made its debut. Because if you're going to be underestimated, you might as well look iconic while proving everyone wrong. By the 1960s and 70s, Dart was successful but relentless. Together with his wife, Yoshiko, don't know if I pronounced that right, his partner in everything, he started traveling the world. They visited schools, institutions, and villages. What they saw wasn't just inequality, it was cruelty. Disabled people hidden away, denied education, written off entirely. And Dart realized the issue wasn't polio or mobility or impairment. The issue was society's lack of imagination. Now, here's where Dart did something rare for someone with power. He listened. Instead of showing up in his cowboy hat like the Lone Ranger saving the day, he pulled up a chair, or rolled up, more accurately, and asked people about their lives. Those conversations changed him. He carried those stories everywhere he went, amplifying voices that would otherwise never reach policymakers. This is also when his philosophy crystallized: lead on, not wait patiently, not accept crumbs, lead on. And yes, preferably in a cowboy hat. Now, let's talk about Dart's complicated relationship with politics. He compared politicians to alligators in a swamp, which honestly is pretty accurate. They're slippery, dangerous, and you don't want to fall in while wearing suede boots. But Dart knew the swamp was where the laws were made. And if you want ramps, jobs, and justice, you can't just shout from the riverbank. You have to wade into the alligator pit. So he took on government roles, serving in the Rehabilitation Services Administration and later on the National Council on Disability. And here's the thing: instead of just managing problems, he used his position to lay the groundwork for something bigger: a civil rights law for disabled Americans. That was the genius. Dart reframed disability, not charity, not pity, civil rights, which forced politicians into an awkward choice: either support equality or look like the guy who punches puppies. And when the swamp alligators got too rowdy, well, Dart had his cowboy hat. I like to think of it as swamp armor. By the 1980s, the push for the ADA was heating up. Businesses were panicking about costs. Lawmakers were dragging their boots. Advocates were burning out. And then here comes Dart, cowboy hat on, rolling through Capitol Hill like the sheriff of Accessibility Town. He and his wife launched the ADA Tour, visiting all 50 states, listening to disabled people everywhere. They gathered thousands of stories about discrimination, being denied jobs, locked out of schools, left on curbs because buses weren't accessible. Dart turned those stories into binders and plopped them onto lawmakers' desks. Lawmakers could ignore statistics, but they couldn't ignore stacks of lived experiences. And then finally, on July 26, 1990, President George W. Bush signed the ADA into law. Bush even called it the world's first comprehensive declaration of equality for people with disabilities. Now, was it perfect? No. Businesses pushed back, lawsuits chipped away at it, and implementation has always been uneven. But without Dart and his cowboy hat, it might never have existed at all. The ADA was his showdown at the OK Corral. Only instead of gunfire, the weapons were testimonies, binders, and relentless organizing. Justin Dart Jr. passed away in 2002, but before he did, he left a message for all of us. In it, he wrote, "My final wish is that all who hear these words shall join me in a great civil rights love affair with all the world's people. Lead on, lead on." This wasn't just a slogan, it was a challenge. His legacy isn't just the ADA or the cowboy hat or even the swamp alligator metaphors. It's a reminder that advocacy is never finished, that every generation has to lead on in its own way. So the next time someone shrugs and says, "That's just how things are," do your best Dart impression. Tip your imaginary cowboy hat, glance at the swamp of politics, and say, "That's how things were. Watch us change it." So that's our episode on Justin Dart Jr., the godfather of the ADA. If you like this episode, share it with a friend, or better yet, with that one coworker who thinks accessibility is too expensive. Just spoiler, discrimination is more expensive. Now until next time, remember Dart's words. Lead on. Oh, and if you're wondering, no, the cowboy hat is not required for activism, but let's be honest, it helps, especially if you're heading into the swamp. Alligators respect a good hat.